Thank you for attending the Oshkosh Area School District Board of Education meeting. This is our regular meeting. First, I'd like to start with determining that we are compliant with open meeting laws.
Yes, we are.
All right, thank you. And if we could please call the roll.
Herzog.
Here.
Carnes.
Here.
Peschel.
Here.
Szilagyi.
Here.
Wright.
Here.
Wyman.
Here.
Carlin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I would invite Dr. Davis to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Next up is board and administrative reports. The board president report is next. I don't have a very extensive report other than in the last month I had the opportunity to take part in a student-led Pride event. That was very exciting for me to be a part of it and to have been invited to and for it to be organized by students. So that's all I really have. Housekeeping thing. I have a family event this evening that I will, unfortunately, am in the position where family takes, not unfortunately, but fortunately, in the position where family takes families first in this situation. So if the meeting goes past a certain point, I will pass over the gavel to Dr. Herzog, and she will complete the meeting as the Vice President of the board, leading the meeting. So just a housekeeping thing there. So moving forward, we have the Superintendent's Report and Superintendent's Good News Report. Go ahead, Dr. Davis.
Great, thank you. So some really exciting things as I've been able to learn here in my first couple of weeks here in Oshkosh. So first of all, looking at the Oshkosh North and West Cafe class highlights. So special ed students from both Oshkosh North and Oshkosh West high schools participating in the Cafe class since 2014 to earn credits and gain work experience. And they have determined that the highlight of the class is Donut Wednesdays. So I'm excited to participate in that once class gets going this year. So congratulations to all the staff and students that are participating in that program. Special thanks goes out to several Oshkosh Area School District special education staff members for their work this summer on the high school transition course. This provides extra opportunities for special education students to build life and independent skills with hands-on learning. You can check out some of these activities and experiences in the more detailed information listed on this slide. So some really exciting things there. Oshkosh Athletics, so Oshkosh West, congratulations to the high school girls soccer team and softball teams for winning their respective regional championships this year. Even though the soccer team lost in the sectional semifinal game and softball lost in the sectional final game, both teams had great seasons. So congratulations, ladies, on a successful spring seasons. Congratulations to the Oshkosh West High School boys tennis team who finished as sectional runners-up with 3 players qualifying for the WIAA State Individual Tournament. So congratulations, boys, on that great accomplishment. Also, congratulations to the Oshkosh West boys track team and coaches on finishing as the WIAA boys Division I state runner-up this spring. The boys team also won their respective sectional meet and had a number of athletes that are listed on the slide qualify for state. We had Rachel Mueller also qualify for state in the pole vault for the girls team. And also wanted to just highlight a really special performance and really a historic performance that was provided by Sam Blaskowski at the state meet, being the state champion in the 100, 200 meter dashes and the long jump. So a 3-time champion in one season is really incredible. So congratulations, Sam, to that great accomplishment. Also, just looking at calendar, so listed here are the meetings that have taken place over the first couple weeks as I began the position. So it's been great to be able to get out and about, to get a tour of the Pain Arts Center in the mansion yesterday, along with some lunch meeting with Mr. Roloff to get caught up on some city news. So just really excited for that opportunity to continue. So thank you, everybody who's been generous for your time and providing that. And then lastly, I wanted to just check in. I know we've had a lot of questions around the COVID protocols, specifically looking at face coverings and masks. So I wanted to just provide an update on where we are as we're moving throughout the summer. As we move forward. So it's up on the slides, but school, just to make sure that we're starting at the same spot, school will be in person 5 days a week for our students, with a virtual option through our e-academy that will be for our 21-22 school year. All co-curricular activities will proceed on schedule beginning in August, so beginning in a couple weeks as we're coming up. Our current COVID protocols that we have for summer school programming will continue as scheduled throughout our entire summer school schedule. Our COVID protocols, including our face coverings for the upcoming school year, 21-22, will be completed with input from our principals, activities coordinators, the CDC, and the Winnebago County Health Department. That's something that's just getting finished up right now. And that guidance will be out for our co-curricular activities that will begin in August. Those protocols will be communicated on July 28th. And guidance for our COVID protocols, including face coverings for the start of our school year in September, will be communicated by August 6th, hopefully a little bit earlier in August that week. So just want to be able to communicate that we're working on that, looking at those recommendations. There'll be communications coming out shortly regarding those two things. So that concludes the superintendent's good news report.
Thank you for that report, Dr. Davis. Next up is reports from any other reports, committee reports. I'm not expecting any committee reports. We didn't have any committees meet this month, and we did them all at the end of the last meeting in June. So, all right. So I do have one report that I think is important, and as the role of school board president, I get to sit as an ex officio member on the Oshkosh Public Museum Board of Directors. And so I think it's important to know that for the first time in 30 plus years, the museum is going to have a new executive director in the next 60 to 90 days. Dr. Davis will actually have the opportunity to serve on that board as well. And so that is one of the things that we're working on as a board right now, is going through resumes and getting ready to have the interview process in the next 2 weeks to assist the city manager Roloff in determining who the next director will be. So it's a unique opportunity that only comes once in a lifetime when it comes to the Oshkosh Public Museum. So Brad Larson, who has been that person at the helm, has led the museum through many different avenues of updating the museum, bringing in exhibits that not just excite children but also excite adults, helps provide more expansive knowledge about the history of our community, and Mr. Larson has gone through many events, limited of having to pivot the museum over the last 40 years as well, and for those of us that have lived here have experienced those with him and know that. And so he's been a great attribute to our community and the history of Oshkosh, and so it'll be sad to lose him, but it'll also be exciting to have a new person kind of move into that role and to build the next path in regards to the Oshkosh Public Museum. So those are my comments. With that, next up, we have a non-agenda related public forum. So I have some guidelines that I'd like to read first before I invite up our first speaker to the table. So guidelines for public comment. Please clearly state your name, your address. If you are acting as a spokesperson of a particular group of individuals, please indicate that group that you represent. Please limit your comments to the time allotted, which is 3 minutes. It'll be up on the board here. Please use public comments rather than a question and answer dialogue. State clearly and concisely the matters of concern. Please remember that the use of specific names of district personnel or board members may lead to a legal liability. In such instances, please pursue the district's formal complaint process by contacting the superintendent's office at 424-0160 to be directed to the appropriate administrator to address your concern. So we are in non-agenda related public forum. First person that I have signed up to speak today is Mr. Mark Lasky. Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. Okay. 3 minutes would have seemed like an eternity in speech class. I don't know. See if I can fill it up. No. My name is Mark Lasky, 3190 Old Orchard Lane, Oshkosh, Wisconsin, 54902. I'm here to talk about the non-agenda item of mask mandate decision. I'm not sure when the decision on this will be made. I'm here representing myself alone, individual. I'd like to just state that I am for making masks optional in school, not mandated, and I believe it should be enacted as soon as reasonably possible, but certainly no later than the fall of 2021. My research that I could find a source on, Appleton Area School District, per the Appleton Post-Crescent as of Monday, June 7th, all their schools are mask optional. Fond du Lac School District, as of July 1st, 2021, all their entire district mask optional. Kimberly area, as of May 24th, optional starting in the summer. Amro School District, mask optional. According to Burbio.com, 38 states have no mask mandate at all. 3 states have a vaccine contingent mandate, and there are 9 states right now that have a mask requirement. CDC information as of this morning, our level of community transmission in Winnebago County is low. It is the lowest case. We have less than 10 cases. In the 7-day totals, rates, percentages, and percent change in the last 7 days. We have 0 deaths. Our percent positivity is 0.36. Our testing volume in the last 7 days was 1,391, which is a 32% reduction. We have 0 hospital admissions. We have 0% beds used, and we have 0 ICU beds used for COVID. The other source I have that I brought with me today is from the American Institute for Economic Research. I'd be happy to send this with you. An article from Paul Alexander from March 10th, actually, 2021. Masking children, tragic, unscientific, and damaging. He cites 94 articles in both the United States and Europe that challenge the idea of mandatory masking and the physiological and psychological impact, negative impacts it has had on children in schools. At this point, teachers and administrators all have have had a reasonable chance to be vaccinated. Kids to a certain age have certainly, although the recommendations have been a little bit unclear as to certain age groups, whether they should or shouldn't. But children are said to be the least transmissible age group and the most resistant to COVID. So I'll leave it at that. I appreciate the time, and I'm done.
You made it.
Thank you.
Mr. Lasky, thank you for
Mark.
your comments today.
Yes, thank you.
All right, number 2 on the list is Amy Schwab.
Hi, my name is Amy Schwab. I live at 3955 Prairie Court here in Oshkosh. I share the same opinion. I do not feel our children should be mandated to wear masks come fall. You know, I had my plan, what I was going to say, and I was on my way here, and I was thinking, I don't remember the last time I walked in a place and I had to wear a mask. Didn't know what to expect when I got here, and I walk in and I see, yay, no masks. And so I was sitting here, and I'm like, great, this is great. And I see smiling faces. And this group of ladies walked in and they're all smiling. I'm like, now, that would be a great way to start out the school day. Seeing smiling faces and everything else. We all know that's healthy. But needless to say, if you guys choose to go with a mask mandate, I'm going to ask as leadership that you guys follow, walk the walk, talk the talk. You guys all wear masks every day, too, if you ask the children to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schwab. All right, number 3 on the list is Stephanie Bocknet.
Yes, good job.
Nice.
I don't really know how to say it, but I say bow to the crowd and connect 4 and call it good. I'm here too also to talk about face coverings. I understand there isn't a decision made, but in light of the CDC recommendations, I felt like it was fair and appropriate to at least voice concerns so that you can be considering those as you do go to make your decision later. I did tell my children who are 4, 6, and 9 that the CDC was saying that maybe they'd have to wear masks in school. And my 4-year-old said, but I'm too little. And my 6-year-old said, I'm not going to school. And my 9-year-old said, I'm not wearing one. So those are my children. We talked a little more, and my 6-year-old said, well, we're safe now, so we don't have to wear masks. So considering a 6-year-old is saying, if I have to wear a mask to school, school is no longer safe because it became unsafe when this virus entered our world, and masking helped protect you, but now we're safe and that's not around. And so he's saying a mask at school means it's not safe to be there. My 9-year-old is saying, well, I can't even think clearly. I can't see well because it's up at my eyes. I have a hard time concentrating on my math work, which my husband and I did see a decline in his ability to do math. And so that was him. And of course, my 4-year-old, I'm too little. So she has actually skirted through the whole pandemic without really needing to wear a mask because she is too little. She's only 4. But I think per the guidelines of even last year, she would have been masked in school at 4. We work with a middle school teacher that stated that she works in a low-income school, and she had middle schoolers wearing the same mask for 3 weeks, and they were dirty and disgusting. So she kind of said, I'm not sure that that was very effective. Lastly, we are living in America where we have freedom, and I try to teach my kids that they can advocate for themselves, however, they cannot on this matter. So I'm here to advocate for them because they are requesting no masks. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Dr. Herzog, do we need to be wiping down the table every time?
It's supposed to be an airborne virus, so I think it
So-
might be okay. Good question.
All right, next up is Miss Leslie Martin.
Hello.
Hello.
Leslie Martin, 225 West 18th Avenue in Oshkosh. I'm here representing myself and also against mandatory masking. The CDC and WHO and similar agencies have gone back and forth and contradicted themselves numerous times. But if we're going to go based off of them, then let's consider a few statistics directly from the CDC. 99.998% of those age 18 and under recover naturally with no intervention, most often with little to no symptoms if exposed to COVID. That alone should be basis for all of these mandates being dropped in schools. A study that involved more than 25,000 school-age kids revealed 24 distinct health issues that arise from continual mask wearing, including increased headaches, difficulty concentrating, drowsiness and fatigue, malaise, dizziness, shortness of breath, sleep issues, accelerated respiration, chest tightness, weakness, and impairment of consciousness. Not a single randomized controlled trial with verified outcome has been able to detect a statistically significant advantage of wearing a mask versus not wearing a mask when it comes to preventing infectious viral illness. Clearly, there is some contradictory and highly concerning evidence coming from the very agencies that you are claiming to be basing these decisions upon. At this point, it feels as though these mandates are being enforced and carried on simply for liability purposes to protect the school system, not for what is actually in the best interests of the kids. There's a school district in this very county hearing the same advice from the CDC and the same county health department who are going mask optional next year. We know of many kids for for which these protocols are causing real psychological turmoil for, which is also resulting in physical conditions and rapidly declining mental health. Some have said they couldn't even bear to be at school last year or are already overly anxious just at the thought of having to wear a mask in the upcoming school year. And some have even exhibited suicidal tendencies from the stress and dysfunction of it all, while others have expressed that alternatively they just cannot do e-school, which is the only other option because it's isolating and super difficult for them to learn this way, which is highly interfering with their ability to receive an education. My perfectly happy and social straight A pre-COVID daughter is a prime example. She tried e-school, but struggled significantly with it educationally, mentally, and socially, which put a major damper on her ability to even function on a daily basis, much less pass her classes. Crisis had to be called, and we had to take her to mental health counseling. Yet, she has an aortic aneurysm, and there is no way I will ever in good conscience or with any amount of logic or common sense send her to school where her oxygen would be continually impaired from wearing a mask all day, putting undue stress on her heart. So I'd like to know what the alternative is to these things. Or there are none, and she and many others will just have to suffer and be robbed of an educational and social experience. It's time that these questions start to be asked, as we're no longer willing to just sit back and accept whatever we are told we must do based on ill-founded logic and conflicting science, despite the implications for our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Martin, thank you for your comments. Next up is, on the list is Andrea Salazar. Before you make a comment, I need to apologize because when Ms. Martin was giving her comments, I was distracted, and I felt that that was not proper of me to be that distraction, but I wanted to talk about what the distraction was, and I made a request for some water because I'm really parched, and so that's what the distraction was about, and so I'm sorry if that caused any offense, really. So
I'm sure she'll understand.
So
she's my sister.
So thank you for thank you for being.
I'll let her know.
For letting her know that.
We also,
Thank you.
Mr. Peschel, we also are not wiping down the tables, but maybe if they want to, it's there if they
Sure.
want to.
So as a courtesy, if people who come up to speak, if you could wipe down the space in between, that would be wonderful. So.
I know all of the people in the room I was just in are not concerned on that level, but we will do it.
Just putting it out there.
Right.
yeah.
That's why it's there. So.
Okay. So I am following up the same talk and representing a large group in the community that feels the same way, following up on all the statistics and stuff that was in the other ones. And I'm going to read right off of here to try and stick within the 3 minutes. It might be a tad over, but I got to finish this. So the bottom line is we can say we're going to go by science to base everything on, but there'd be no end to that considering the obviously widely varying science and studies and hugely conflicting statistics and agencies and professionals that all could and are being used in support of both sides of the argument on a global level. Clearly, people hold radically different viewpoints on what is the best course of action, all based upon science, as we were designed to all be able to do with our free will. So what it ultimately comes down to underneath it all is that no matter what and in any case, it is and always has been each of our individual God-given right, responsibility, and liberty to choose for ourselves and our children how we best see fit to maintain our own health and well-being, including every medical and bodily decision. That is being infringed upon on so many levels and setting a precedent that is not at all conducive to maintaining our rightful liberties now or into the future. There is never a circumstance that it is justifiable to remove bodily autonomy and medical freedom. Freedom of choice is what is at the heart of this all. Either we are right now collectively supporting the freedom of choice, or we're willfully and intentionally deciding to justify removing it, and that has some seriously hefty implications. The only reason why anyone wouldn't support freedom of choice in this case would be that they question if these supposedly protective measures even work, as implied by the supposed danger said to be imposed by those who choose not to follow the mandates onto those that choose to. Either masks and vaccines work, excuse me, to protect you against threats, including the supposed threat of those who don't participate in those things themselves, or they don't work. If they do work, then it should be free choice, and those who feel they are protected by those things and choose to utilize them will be protected, including against those who choose not to use them. If they don't work, then why the heck is anyone using them, much less why are we mandating them for everyone? We are all equally equipped with an internal system that was designed solely for our unmatched protection and survival. Whether we choose to acknowledge and support ours is up to each of us, but it is no one else's right, responsibility, or even capability to be able to affect that for us in any case or event. All that these universal mandates are doing is attempting to make people forget that and to justify the relinquishment of rights and responsibilities, allegedly for the greater good, when it is not actually doing any good, especially for those who are being severely adversely affected on a regular basis by them, which is being severely under-acknowledged. And quite frankly, regardless of anything at all or anyone's differing opinions on anything, we should not have to defend our children's freedom to breathe unimpinged. The fact that we have to say more than that is enough cause for concern. So we, as your community, would just like to ask each one of you, are you in support of freedom, or are you in support of taking freedom away? Because that is all that this comes down to, regardless of any supposed justifications that can be given. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, our next speaker is, thank you as well,
Yep.
Is Jackie Steiner.
All right. Hi, I'm Jackie
Hello.
Steiner. I live at 915 West 5th Ave. I'm just going to read straight off of here the best I can. I am here on behalf of the students and the staff in the school district to support their freedom of choice in the upcoming school year, the freedom to breathe fresh air and decide how they choose to do that. I'd like to point out that there are rooms full of overflow of people feeling the same way that are choosing not to speak and are just here to listen. And they are also here in support of freedom of choice. I have 3 elementary age students that I pulled from the district because I want my children to not be inoculated in fear of breathing fresh air, fear of touching a friend and getting yelled at school. I am just appalled by the lack of discretion among those making decisions for our children. The decision to force a child to wear a mask for 8 or more hours a day is simply unwarranted. Teachers can leave and go to the bathroom and take off their masks. Anybody that works in an office can walk away and take a break or be by themselves. We aren't giving our kids these opportunities. We're all sitting here right next to each other, not wearing masks, not socially distanced, just fine. The whole year we're able to do that. Why are we going to start the school district off and just stick them with more fear? And why are we not including parents in our upcoming survey when we're going to decide what our masking policy is? If we're going to talk to teachers and we're going to talk to principals and the CDC and the mental health, our parents should have a right in their children's education and their health. Why are you guys the ones that get to make the decisions and not let parents be involved in this? That is really just very disturbing to me. These are unsound ways of functioning that are being forced on our children and causing irreparable harm to them physically, mentally, emotionally, and that far outweighs any supposedly justifiable risk that is being enforced. Forced masking not only in school but also in sports and during strenuous physical activities is just insanity and borderline abusive. The measures being taken defy all common sense and logic. Skyrocketing mental health cases, physical conditions, and suicide rates, among other things in our community over the last year, should be enough evidence alone that the harm is far outweighing any supposed protective benefit and is a much more concerning epidemic as a direct result of masking and other fear-inducing mindsets and measures being forced and spread. Our new county executive, John Damel, just spoke of the rising mental health crisis that has caused over 37 suicide and or overdoses this past year. My brother was one of them. Schools and other establishments that have never adhered to masking or any other protocols are proven to not have had any higher case rates or issues. Because health and immunity and protection have nothing to do with masks or distancing and everything to do with our internal system that we were designed with for our survival and nurturing and supporting that, not hindering it with invasive, external, unnecessary things. I'm going to stop there, and I'm just going to say that because there are multiple other districts in the area and multiple other options, parents are going to go elsewhere. It's not safe, it's not healthy, it's not conducive for children's learning, for their social well-being to be masked. So I really encourage you all to think about the parents and their freedom to choose what's best for their own children. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Steiner.
Thank you.
Next up, in our final speaker for non-agenda related public forum is Matthew Took.
My name is Matthew Took. Thank you for having me today. I'm at 1679 Thornton Drive, and I came out to speak together with everybody against the masking mandates. The effectiveness of masking is, according to the CDC, according to a study that they put out, it's showing that it's about up to 2% in the reduction of the transmission of COVID-19. And so if we're not really sure if masking is actually doing much of anything, we are sure of what it is doing. And it's socially affecting our children, especially our young children, especially those young children that need those facial expressions. 4K kindergartners with masks that need the expression for development. We know that masks reduce oxygen levels. They cause headaches. I personally experienced that. They cause, for those that have anxiety, they can induce anxiety attacks. I also have experienced that personally, and my son has also experienced that as well. We know that they are breeding grounds for bacteria. So we know that they can cause staph infections, bacterial respiratory issues. And therefore, I would ask that if masking is going to become part of this school year, that each person, as the lady earlier said, would also wear a mask in unity with those children that are being forced to wear them. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your talk.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up we have agenda-related public forum. The same guidelines as for the non-agenda still are in apply in this instance. So first person is Margie Metcalf.
Hi, Margie Metcalf, and I actually live in the Winneconne School District, but I taught as a speech and language therapist in the Oshkosh schools for 27 years, and my heart really still is there in many, many ways. So I'm very interested in sharing a part of what we're talking about today. I actually thought I was going to get to talk after everybody spoke, so I am just a little taken by surprise, but that's okay. Basically, what I wanted to share, we have a lot of Webster staff in the group tonight because of the nomination of the principal for the new school. And it's only because it's not a matter of Webster thinking to themselves, oh, well, we didn't get our principal. And it might sound that way sometimes when somebody doesn't get what you think they're going to get. But I think all in all, what anybody wants, whether it's Webster or Merrill or anybody in our city, we just want to make sure that everything really was followed in a process that wasn't compromised in any way. And I think what happened were some questions came up, and they're not founded or unfounded, but it was enough to say, well, should we look at that more closely, and wouldn't it be worth making sure everybody feels this big decision for this big school that has big needs is going to be met with a person. You know, right now, Christy's being offered this position, and we'll, you know, you'll be voting on that. Phil Marshall was somebody that we watched in this position for 9 years, and I had the privilege of working with him as an elementary principal for 10 years. So, of course, I'm going to look at this as I'm going to see it from my view. I think Webster is seeing it from their view, but we're not narrow enough to say that doesn't mean nobody else could do the job. We are wanting to make sure it's the right one. And I think beyond that, I would say, I want anybody who's working for this system to feel like I did, which was safe. Like, I know that you guys have my back. I know my staff has my back. I know Central is there for teachers. And I want to believe with all my heart that no matter how this goes, that Phil Marshall, who I can't say I am not personally caring about him, because I do. But I want to make sure if he does not, in the end, get this position, that OASD has his back, and they're going to be very much showing him that they appreciate the 29 years that he's put in this district solely for the students and the families. I've witnessed it, and I just want to make sure he is being shown all due respect and appreciation. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Ms. Metcalf, thank you for your years of service to the district as well.
Yeah.
So. Next on the list is Ms. Paula Evercamp.
Thank you. I'm Paula Evercamp, 1780 Woodstock Street, and I'm a teacher at Webster Stanley Middle School, and as Margie mentioned, there are about a dozen of our colleagues here. So in reference to the possible approval of the principal for the new Super Middle School, I just want you to consider your decision and remind you that you do not have to make a decision today. So I'm asking you to appoint our current principal from Webster Stanley Middle School to the Super Middle School when it's ready to go. You have received many emails and phone calls endorsing the current Webster principal, and I'm wondering, have you looked into the leadership that he has given this district for 28 years? Have you looked at the DPI report card? Have all of you looked at that? Just wondering, okay? According to the Wisconsin School Board Member Handbook, student learning and student achievement are the centerpiece of your mission as school board members. Please don't feel pressured to approve an agenda item that deserves further investigation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And our final speaker today for the agenda-related public forum is Miss Tina, is it Joffrey? Jeffrey, sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Tina Jeffrey, 1141 Sawtell Court, Oshkosh, and I'm also here to talk about the hiring process for the Merrill Middle School vacancy. We've all been told that when there's a vacancy, the district is responsible for posting the position and interviewing candidates. There was a vacancy for Merrill Middle. What I would like to know is what the decision-making process was for determining that the new Merrill hire would become the principal for the new Northside School, as opposed to the principal at Webster, for which there is no vacancy. I didn't understand the necessity to find someone other than who we already have. I put my trust in the committee, which was comprised of stakeholders from both Merrill and Webster Middle Schools, though I don't know what their influence was, if any. I'm unclear as to the criteria and motivation of the interview process when we already have a principal who is servicing half of the Northside Middle School population and is ready to take on the rest as it comes. There really is only a vacancy for Merrill Middle, as I see it. If you're going to risk potentially publicly humiliating a very capable veteran administrator, the new chosen candidate would have to possess far superior skills and reputation. And your vote in the affirmative is telling the public that you believe you have found such a person. At the very least, I'm asking as well that you table this vote and in order to give the community members time to get informed and weigh in with their opinions, as this announcement was made during a high travel time. My opinion is that this process is detrimental to the trust of the community and most evidently OASD staff members at all levels. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For your time.
As always, thank to everyone who has taken their time to prepare statements, to provide their comments and their beliefs to us as a board. We truly appreciate insight, as challenging as that may be for us to hear and for you to communicate to us as well. But know that we do hear and we are listening. So, all right. So the next up is our consent resolution agenda. For the consent agenda, the board has been furnished with background material on each item or has discussed it at a previous meeting. This will be acted upon with one vote without discussion. If a board member wishes to discuss any item, it should be requested to be pulled out of the consent agenda to be voted on individually. Is there any items that the board wishes to pull from the consent agenda? Yes?
Appointments. The one
Okay.
I don't know what number that is.
4B.
So that's 4B.
4B.
Okay. Is there any other resolutions that members wish to pull? Okay. Seeing none, I would like to call for a vote. Oh yeah, sorry. I need a motion to move, hold on.
Oh, sorry.
1 second, please. I would like a motion to move the consent agenda minus 4B.
So moved.
Moved by Carland, seconded by Wright. All right. Please call the roll.
Carnes?
Aye.
Peschel?
Aye.
Szilagyi?
Aye.
Wright?
Aye.
Wyman?
Aye.
Carlin?
Aye.
Herzog?
Aye.
The ayes have it, resolution carries.
All right. Thank you. Next, we move on to individually considered resolutions. For Resolution 4B, reads, be it resolved that the Oshkosh Area School District Board of Education approve the administrative appointments and salary schedule as filed with the Secretary of the Board of Education. Those appointments are Linda Kohab, who becomes a literacy director at the Central Administration beginning July 15th through June 30th, 2023. Appointment of Christy Levy, middle school principal, new middle school, effective July 15th of 2021 through June 30th of 2023. Looking for a motion.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Szilagyi, seconded by Herzog. We are open for discussion. Before board members do a discussion, I would like to provide Dr. Davis the opportunity to discuss his appointments.
Great, thank you. So I bring to you tonight the recommendation of Ms. Christy Levy as the Merrill Middle School principal beginning this school year, and the principal of the new middle school once opened in the fall of 2023. At this time, the position is somewhat unique in that making the selection now, it fills an immediate need for our principal at Merrill Middle School and also provides us with a strategic path forward as we advance our plans for the new Northside Middle School, which will combine the Merrill and Webster Stanley Middle School communities in 2 years. In this role, Ms. Levy will be focused on bringing together both communities while also providing critical input into the planning, design, and transition of the new school. In order to attract and retain the highest quality principal candidates to our district, we conducted a competitive interview process for our open principal position. Candidates were asked to provide recent examples of their leadership in improving student academic achievement, student attendance, and building supportive relationships with staff, students, families, and their school communities. We were fortunate to have 4 quality candidates to come in and interview with us. 2 external and 2 internal participated in our in-person process. The selection process included 2 rounds of interviews. I was able to sit in on both of those sessions. The first round was a cross-section of stakeholders from Merrill and Webster Stanley, along with central office administrators. The second round was interviews was for the finalists and included the district executive team. Our process was fair and consistent with each candidate. Ms. Levy was the highest rated candidate in both rounds of our interview process by our interview teams. She was able to cite applicable research and provide current examples of how she has led her school in improving achievement for all students while building relationships with staff, families, and community members. She was also able to provide current examples of leading through a change process with staff. Both finalists were asked to present a 2-year plan to successfully blend Merrill and Webster teams, families, and students together. Ms. Levy's plan was exceptionally detailed and relied heavily on stakeholder input and relationship development as the path towards bringing the 2 school communities together. Beyond her professional experience, Ms. Levy is also seeking to improve herself academically as she is currently pursuing her doctorate degree from Cardinal Stritch University. Her track record of success, people-focused leadership style, along with her commitment to excellence makes her the ideal candidate for this exciting and critical role. Ms. Levy, sends her regrets, was not able to be here tonight, but is appreciative of being named as a recommended candidate for your consideration, and if approved, is looking forward to working with both staffs to build that one community as we have coming up. So, thank you.
Is there any questions for Dr. Davis or any comments that board members wish to make?
Question.
Yes.
Dr. Davis, you were able to participate in the majority of the hiring for Ms. Levy, correct?
Yes, I was in the entirety. Yeah, I was in both rounds.
Okay,
yes.
great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Can you define, you stated stakeholders for the first round of interviews, in-person interviews?
Yes.
Right? Can you define those stakeholders?
So parents, staff members, and staff members at both schools.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh, I did have one more question. Can you please walk us through the timing of why we wanted to do this tonight a little bit?
Yeah, from a selection standpoint, so the position was posted on May 11th, and we posted that through June 1st. I think we had 34 candidates that applied, and like I said, we had 4 candidates that came in our process. So we had the first round of interviews at the end of June. So I came in prior to July 1st for that, but came in to participate in this important process, and then followed up with the second round then right after July 1st. So just being able to have this timing, it's a little bit wonky in the transition of our process, but followed a cadence of selection that made sense. And with our process, being able to have that be completed now provides us with a 2-year on-ramp, if you will, and the ability for Ms. Levy to come and work with both staffs to be able to make sure that that transition is as seamless as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I'm going to say something. So first and foremost, I want to admit that this is a tough decision for me. So personally, I've worked with Mr. Marshall on several different levels, and I've worked with Miss Levy throughout my career as a school board member, and have met her as she rose through, working and building our district up. So I want to take a moment to acknowledge the level of service and time that Mr. Marshall has put in, because it's great. It's huge. He's had a huge impact. So I think it's the challenging vote here is that we're not in a role of controlling your means of your employment. That's your principal. That's who leads you and guides you to do that. We're here to provide direction and support to the superintendent. And I'm in a position where I have to delineate my own personal experience with a principal who I've known and worked with for several years, and I hope that I still have a friendship after tonight, because I sure hope that I do. And I sure hope that my kids get to experience the greatness, continue to experience the greatness that he has provided a foundation for them. So, but we have to move forward, and I'm going to close, and I want to thank all the staff and parents that we've heard from over the last several days. We maybe didn't respond to all of your emails and all of your phone calls, but don't think that we didn't hear you and that we didn't read them and do all of that. But I want to take a moment to acknowledge that in this situation, we have the ability to override that, and we're not necessarily, I don't know that we're going to be comfortable doing that, but there are processes in regards to district policies that provide staff and members of our community to initiate their concerns that they have with the processes that take place in determining positions of hire within the district. And I don't say that lightly, because I enjoy that you all came out and everyone has responded to us and showed us how much they care about the commitment that Mr. Marshall has provided our district. But we as a board have gone through some growing pains in the last year, and I have to acknowledge that we've expressed that we want to hear from staff, but that we also want to hear through the appropriate means of the policies and how that's laid out within the district. And so I hope that I'm providing a compassionate path to let you know that we still want to hear you, but we also want you to follow the appropriate paths to having your grievances heard and taken through. And we've put time and effort into updating our policies so that they're more responsive to staff's needs. And I think it's important to acknowledge that those processes and policies exist because of what we've heard from staff and the community in the last year as well. So I'm not trying to undermine how you feel, how you act, but that we are trying to define how you communicate with us and how you communicate with your superintendent and the executive team as well. So, I'm in this really awkward spot where I really am excited to move forward, and still excited for the opportunities that may exist with some of the challenges of the outcome. So, yes.
Oh, I just wanted to echo you on one thing. I approve the process that was used with Dr. Davis after hearing about that Dr. Davis was involved hands-on with the selection process. I have great faith in his decision, and I am supporting Dr. Davis because I think that we have hired a new superintendent to make these decisions, and I appreciate the thoroughness that you went through to look into all of these issues. So thank you.
Any other comments? Yes.
This is always a difficult decision, especially when you have internal candidates who are vying for the same position. At the same time, I have great trust in the integrity of Dr. Davis, and when he's assured board members individually that this was a clean process, I believe him, and I support his recommendation.
One last opportunity to speak. Okay. Please call the roll.
Heschel,
Aye.
Szilagyi,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Wyman,
Aye.
Carlin,
Aye.
Herzog,
Aye.
Carnes.
Aye.
Ayes have it, resolution carries.
Give a moment for the room to clear.
Thank you for coming.
All right. All right, so our next agenda item is a request for future agenda items.
I have something kind of happy.
Okay.
I have been using something, and I don't know that the rest of the district knows. If you, instead of going to Amazon.com, which many of us do, if you go to smile.amazon.com, you can designate the school district, and we get back money from Amazon for just putting in those extra 5 letters. So
Okay.
just something that maybe when Katie gets back, she can let everyone know, because it's easy way to get some money for all of your Amazon shopping.
Awesome.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
I had one future agenda
Go
item.
for it.
I had a future agenda related to our legal
Yes.
team, and I
Yep.
think that it was brought up in Finance
It
Committee,
was.
and we went through some of the expenses, and they were found to be totally in line. But I think what I was really getting at when I asked that to be an agenda item is, you know how we switch insurance companies every few years to save money? I'm wondering when the last time that we had reviewed our legal services before, because I think that there are a lot of legal companies that would like to represent the school district, and I'm just wondering if it's time for us to put out an RFP for that or something, or is that even below our line, or I'm just, because I think it's been
Sure.
almost 30 years that we have used the same law firm.
So I guess what I would say is that Dr. Davis, this would be something that that I think would be in your wheelhouse to look into.
Correct.
And I wish that you would communicate with Ms. Carlin about the path on how you plan to take on that.
Yes, because I am very aware that this could be below the line, but it's something that I've been thinking about for quite
Sure.
some time, so thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other future agenda items? Seeing none. All right. Announcements. So do you want to do this announcement, Dr. Davis, or do you want me to do it? All right. So I think we also made this announcement last month, but the announcement is that we are bringing back the first meeting of the month listening sessions. And so a document was sent around this last week encouraging board members to sign up. And so what this is that prior to COVID, we had a listening session that began at 5 o'clock before the first board meeting of every month. And it was, the listening session was open to the public. And it would be staffed by roughly 2 board members, Dr. Davis, and representatives of his executive team as well. And so these were very prosperous meetings that we had prior to COVID, and provided kind of one-on-one opportunities for individuals in our community to talk with us and to talk with staff about issues that they had that may affected that may have an effect on the children that they have in the district. And so we are pleased to bring them back. We miss them. So this is, and so the follow-up of that is that at the second meeting of every month, there's usually a report that is communicated back to the board and to the public during that second meeting of what was talked about and discussed and potential outcomes solutions that may have been taken in response to the family's concerns in regards to what they came to us for. So I'm happy to see that the whole list is filled up. Every one of you have signed up for times and dates, and that Dr. Davis and his team have filled in all the spots already. So it just shows the level of excitement that we have to invite the community back in for these listening sessions. So
That's great.
that is all I have on that. Any other thoughts? Any other announcements? Yes, sir.
One thought crossed my mind, and this kind of goes back to what Ms. Carlin was saying previously regarding, the below the line item. And I don't know if that's something that we can talk about at some other point to really, help the public understand what that means and where our guidance sits.
That's a
and you
great
kind of referenced
idea.
it when you talked about the recommendation for the hiring of the principal and allowing the public to really have a better feel of communicating out of what we are
Yep.
what we are really looking at. We still love to hear the feedback, but maybe that's,
That's a
great idea.
We can't go into great detail, but I often wonder if this is the best avenue to talk to the public about that concept. To me, sometimes maybe it's that concept where we go out in the community and provide opportunities to talk about those, how we have to handle those opportunities or those decisions. Because sometimes it gets lost we're at the end of our meeting. It's another workshop that we'd have to do. We've already had that workshop this year. And so I think I would challenge us to find those opportunities to engage ourselves and the public in regards to having those discussions with people and taking that opportunity when we have those to doing that. But I think it's something that we're going to do every year.
And maybe it's something that, Katie could send out
Sure.
as a.
Oh, sure.
People
That
read
too.
that stuff. I mean, I've gotten good feedback and hearing conversations at sidelines of
Yeah.
sporting events, and people see that stuff. They,
Okay.
maybe that's an idea for that. But I as well have had people talking
Well,
about that and trying to explain. So.
I think at the very least, though, I could stop using the term below the line, because I think we only know what that means because we
Yeah.
had that training. So maybe I should say our responsibility. That's what we're
Okay.
talking about when we say below the line
Sure.
is this our responsibility? So I should probably do that moving forward too, so that people at home are not wondering about this mysterious line all the time. So.
Or also, the concept of the public believing that we're shirking our duties as well. And I think that's kind of what what we really want to have the public understand is that there's concepts that school boards across the country kind of follow and that they try to balance out. And this is that concept that's really, when we're talking about building relationships with Dr. Davis, this is one of those concepts that we have to let him do his job, right? And find ways to shape his experience in doing that, and doing it in appropriate manners. We can talk about this all night, but we're not noticed to talk about it.
We can't. We're not
I'm saying
noticed.
we would like to, but we
future
can't.
agenda.
We're not noticed.
Consideration.
So, so duly noted in the sense of wanting to expand the notion of below the line and what our responsibilities are. Okay? Any other announcements?
I have one.
Yes.
That may shed some light on this. Wisconsin Association of School Boards has its annual Summer Leadership Institute on Saturday, July 24th. It's in Green Bay. The registration deadline is this Friday. They will be talking about the roles of school board members versus the roles of administration. So if your calendar is free, I'd encourage you to contact Sherry and get signed up for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? All right. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Karn, seconded by Carlin. Please call the roll.
Salaji?
Aye.
Wright?
Aye.
Wyman? Aye. Carlin?
Aye.
Herzog?
Aye.
Carnes?
Aye.
Peschel?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
Before you all go, I just wanted to introduce
introduce you. This is Dr. Linda Huha, and she will be our Director of Literacy for 4K and 5.
Awesome.
So just wanted you all to get to know her.
Pleasure.
Start tomorrow.
So, the city council does this a lot.
Resolution said.